shed some light on this situation. Bam. Is it just that down a little bit? What's up, everyone? It's Sprometheus, and as you probably noticed, it's kind of a off-the-cuff sort of video day. If you read the title, which I honestly, at time of recording, I don't know what I'm going to call this video, but I realized recently that I haven't done a sit-down chat type of video in quite a while, and I haven't done an AMA or Ask Me Anything or a Q&A video since my 100th video, and now that I'm well past 200 videos, I feel like I'm due. So with that concept in mind, I asked both on here on YouTube on the community tab and also on Instagram on my stories to see what questions people had for me, what sort of burning questions you had for Spro. So I spent some time sifting through all the questions I got on both places and picked some questions out that I thought maybe would be interesting to answer on video and maybe relevant to those who actually watch these kinds of videos where it's just kind of a conversational situation between you and me. So without any further ado, let's just dive directly into the questions. So the first question is, what keeps you in the coffee industry? Now, I chose this question because it sounds very simple just on the surface. I could answer it very simply just by saying, I like coffee. But I think there's just more to that answer. I feel like the coffee industry is like the land of misfit toys. You know, so many people from different walks of life, different backgrounds, different educations, all come together in coffee. And that's part of the reason that I really like it. I've met so many unique and awesome individuals. I've talked to so many people all over the world just through coffee, which is just, you know, in the simplest of terms, it's just a drink, right? But that drink has brought me so much joy, so much time to really get to know different people, really learn different things. I've done so many different things in the coffee industry in that short 5-6 years. I've worked on the service end. I've worked as a dispatcher for technicians. I've worked selling coffee for a distributor. I've worked roasting coffee. And now I'm here doing YouTube full time, which I'm very thankful for that. I don't even know how to describe that. It's not something was ever my plan. It's not something that I just never really looked at that as a viable option, but it just eventually became one. And so that's kind of a breakdown of what keeps me in the industry. Is there's so much to it. Things are always changing. There's so many unique individuals and things happening all the time that it just kind of allows you to stay excited. It allows you to keep learning. And that's one of the things that just keeps me in coffee. I don't feel stagnant in coffee. So on the topic of YouTube, this next question is YouTube related. And a fellow coffee YouTuber sent me this question. I'm not going to say who they are because I don't know if they want me to. So I'm just going to keep it on the DL. But what they asked is, how do you deal with criticism and or haters on YouTube? I've now been on YouTube for about 4 years or over 4 years. And my best piece of advice now, after that amount of time, is get a good therapist. I'm not saying that as a joke. I think there's a lot of negative connotations, negative views of therapy in our culture, in American culture particularly, where if you don't need it, you don't need therapy for this or whatever that might be. And I don't necessarily say you have to go to therapy because of mean comments on YouTube. And that's a very small portion of what therapy, you know, I would use therapy for specifically, but it does help kind of pull you out of that spiral when you go down it. You know, as a creator, no matter how big or how small you are, I watch a lot of YouTube and I watch a lot of big creators and a lot of small creators. And I feel like no matter your size, no matter your success level, no matter how much money you're making on YouTube or whatever it might be, all of us as creators, we really focus on the negative. I want constructive criticism. And I think if you're a creator, you probably do too. I think it's important to the process. And I think as long as the criticism doesn't reach a certain level, you know, it is what it is, right? But going all the way back to the question, I kind of rambled there, going all the way back to the question, I think how I deal with them is, like I said, therapy helps, but also really understanding just that someone said this to me early on in my YouTube career, and it really stuck with me. And they said that negativity always comes from below. And I generally hate those types of kind of like, you know, you could put that on a sign and you'd find it in Ross and put, you know, it's like in some Midwestern old lady's kitchen or something. I don't know. But it's true, right? The type of world that that person is living in, the type of life that that person's leading, they're trying to bring you down, right? They're trying to pull you down to their level. They want you to be miserable like they are. The person who takes the time to write out a miserable comment on a YouTube video about coffee is a sad person. So just remember that. Keep that in mind. Get a good therapist. And that's my advice on that one. All right, so next up, the question is, US Barista Championship next year? Well, probably not. Maybe. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about coffee competitions. Over the last couple of years, the last few years, they've seemed very commercial. You know, I feel like they don't have that same sort of raw, grassroots sort of feeling that I used to see in like the really old ones, or not really old, but like, you know, the early 2000s when you had like James Hoffman or Matt Perger or other people. Like those just seem, they feel different. I don't know. I can't really explain it, but now they sort of feel like commercials. And I also feel like, you know, I don't want to get into like the politics of it or anything like that, but I feel like there's a lot of privilege that goes on in those things where a lot of baristas who are really talented can make awesome drinks, work on bar like an animal or whatever, but they don't get that type of recognition because the cafe they work for can't afford to, you know, pay them to compete, or can't afford to send them to the SCA Expo, or they can't afford to buy, you know, the nicest geisha on the market or something like that. So I feel like they also sort of, you know, they exclude people to a certain extent. And I don't love that. I feel like that's kind of antithetical to what the specialty coffee industry is all about. That's the stuff we put out there. We have filter coffee, not people, but a lot of people get filtered when it comes to the coffee industry. And, you know, maybe I'm not the right person to be talking about this. I would love to see, you know, the opinions on this from like a person of color or a female or someone who identifies in the non-binary or something like that, because they're the ones on the margins. They're the ones that generally tend to get pushed to the side. And I've seen more of those types of people being lifted up in the industry, and that's great. And I want to see more of that. But given the opportunity, yeah, I would maybe give it a try. I've never been great at public speaking, but it could be fun. It could be a fun, interesting experience to try out. I don't know. I might give it a shot at some point. But I feel like it's there's a drama kid energy to it too, which isn't really me. I'm very much I don't know, what's the opposite of a drama kid? That's just sort of my take on the competitions. It's not really on my to-do list at the moment. So the next question is, are you going to make a world coffee trip, like visiting different countries with different coffee traditions? And they offer to help me in Italy. So that would be awesome. That's one of my goals as the world sort of opens back up after this. Well, it's not over yet, but as things start to open back up and international flights and stuff like that start to be more viable, I do want to go to some places. Italy is one that, you know, I don't know if I'll be welcome in Italy, honestly, based on some comments I got on my mocha pot recipe and other espresso-based drinks where someone told me that there is a rule in Italy where I'm breaking the law if I call something that isn't traditionally espresso. I don't know if that's true. I didn't do the research, but it doesn't seem like generally the Italians love what I'm doing. But maybe they do. I don't know. But yeah, Italy would be one of them for sure. Australia is really high up on my list. The UK, I got my buddy UK Espresso out there. Shouts out to him. Where I want to go out to these different countries and try their different coffee experiences. Japan, high up on the list. Generally, lots of Asia would be high up on the list. And I feel like, you know, anywhere but here. I feel like I'm a little bit stagnant in my coffee enjoyment going out to cafes and stuff here in America. No one is really pushing the envelope, but when people ask me what envelope I want to see pushed, I have a hard time answering that. I guess I need to see it in front of me. I don't know. Yeah, eventually I'll make my way out to other countries, and I definitely will be letting people know when I'm going to these different places to try and at least line up some time to drink some coffee with some fellow coffee lovers in these different countries. So keep an eye out for that in the future for sure. Okay, so I'm gonna just do this one last question. Sorry I didn't get to everybody. There was like well over 100 of them. Shouts out for putting in any questions on this whole thing. I love these types of things, even though not very many people watch them. But anyway, last question is, when is Little Giant coming back? And do you have any recommendations in the meantime? So those who aren't familiar, Little Giant is my own coffee roasting. I don't know if I can call it a business. Like, yeah, I sell coffee, but I generally use all the money I make on that to either help me produce more coffee, more labels, run the website, all that stuff. I don't really make a massive profit from that business. I'm hoping to be back in June of 2022. I've got a blend planned to release, like a nice summer blend. So I'm hoping that will come to fruition. Time will tell. But when it comes to places that I'd recommend, people often ask me, what are my favorite roasters in the US? And I mean, I've got a lot of them, but right now there's a few that come to mind just immediately because I had them very recently. So maybe it's a recency bias, but just is what it is. Surprisingly, two of them are very close to each other and they're both in Arizona. So shout outs to Peixoto Coffee, and I think they're in Chandler, or at least one of them's in Chandler. I think they have 2 locations now, and they do a lot of different coffees, but their main thing is Brazil. They own their own farm in Brazil. They grow, pick, process, ship it over here, roast it, and serve it. So they have like the full program. And I love to try unique Brazilian coffees because I don't really see those on the market very often. Usually it's a natural, people throw it into a espresso blend and that's it. But they have some really unique coffees. One of them I actually have right here, BemTV. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but this is a really unique low oxygen natural, or low O2 natural, that I actually found super unique and really tasty. So definitely Peixoto. Another one just down the road from Peixoto, Pear Cup Works, is another one I've had some really great coffees from. I like that they serve coffees in like smaller amounts, you know, like I think they use 8 or 10 ounce boxes or bags. So I kind of like that because I like to have variety. I'm all about the variety game these days. So Pear Cup Works. And in terms of like beyond that, you know, I really do like Elixir. And they're based out of, I think, Philadelphia. They've got some really solid single origins, some really solid blends. I have some really great espresso shots pulled from their blends. Highly recommend those 3. There's tons more out there. Good coffee. You can really find it pretty much anywhere. So just keep your eyes out. And if you want to check out these 3 that I mentioned, I'll link them down in the description below. As you can see, I could pretty much go on and on. I can see this video at this point before editing, it's reaching close to the 30-minute mark. I don't really like to put out videos that long of me rambling, so I'm gonna start wrapping it up and winding it up here. But I do wanna say just really quick, thank you for watching. Thank you for liking, subscribing, being part of my coffee community here on YouTube, or the coffee community here on YouTube. Like I said, I'm very fortunate to have made this my career. I don't know how sustainable it is, but it's been a lot of fun. I hope to keep doing it for at least some time longer. I really enjoy it generally. You know, of course, every job has its ups and downs. I feel like when I would watch YouTubers early on, when I found out YouTubers were actually a job, I was like, oh, you know, hearing this guy complain about how difficult the work is. And telling you what, I put out 1 video a week, 2 if you count the shorts. And I feel like, man, it's work, right? I'm a one-man show. I do everything on my own. So it's definitely a job, you know, but I also it's a labor of love. You know, sometimes the videos are hard to make. Sometimes they're frustrating. Sometimes I get tired. Sometimes I get burnt out. But in the end, when I put a video out and I get all these different people thanking me all over the world for the effort I put in, or the time I spent doing this that, you know, maybe they haven't seen somewhere else, or sharing a recipe or whatnot, it definitely makes it all worth it in the end. And so a big thank you to all of you. And I haven't really shown this on the channel yet, but one of the things I got because of you is this, which, I mean, I used to see these on YouTube channels before and never think that this was like within reach for me. So having one is kind of a trip. Even the UPS guy who dropped it off was like, I know what's in there. Are you a YouTuber? And I was like, fuck yeah, I am. So this is rad. So thank you for this. Thanks for following along. Thanks for, if you've made it this far in the video, watching me ramble about random shit. And, you know, you probably realize why I generally script or really relatively tightly plan out my videos, because I cuss a lot. And yeah, I also I'm not a public speaker. Thank you again. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, if this is your first video, which hopefully it's not, but if it is and you enjoyed it, there's more stuff to be seen. I'll be putting out videos for the foreseeable future anyway. I've got some pretty exciting, fun stuff planned coming up in the very near future. So stick around and we'll do some coffee stuff. But I think that's it. So with that said, we'll be back to the normal videos, the normal reviewing and talking about fun coffee stuff next week. And I'll see you then. This is going to be for the bloopers. This is going to be the bonus track. I'm probably going to hate this video. I pretty much don't like anything I make. When people watch my videos, it kind of blows my mind. But anyway, that's beyond the point. I'll see you next week.